With each release of Anime Studio Pro, the ability to customize the program to the way you work has gotten better, and Anime Studio Pro 10 is no different. Let's take a look at some areas where you would do that, or the principal area you would do that, the preferences found under the Anime Studio Pro pull down from the top. Now, we're not going to go through all these tabbed areas because they're pretty self-explanatory, like graphic user interface colors. If you don't like gray or you want something else, you can change it here. Likewise for the editor colors, and if you happen to be pushing your animations to your own YouTube channel, just enter your credentials here and you can make that much easier on yourself. But here in the options areas where we'll concentrate and spend a little time and go over several options you may want to engage at certain points in time later on. Sometimes for complex scenes you find yourself drawing shapes rather rapidly and then having to go back and rename them or do something like that. You do have the ability to have shapes auto-name the way that bones auto-name when you draw them. Know that that ability is here if you want to go ahead and utilize that. Also, if you prefer zooming with a drag box instead of working with the mouse scroll wheel to push in and out so it behaves more like you would with programs like Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator, you can engage that feature here, and that's just comfort level how you feel working back and forth. For some of the projects, you may be going back and forth real regularly between Adobe Illustrator, so that would be a reason to do that as well. One that I like that I don't have checked here, but I usually do, is automatic update check so that you have the latest and greatest from Smith Micro when they update that. You can highlight frame 0 if you can't seem to remember it's the furthest left position on the screen, and have that manifest for you in the screen as you're working with it. But here's one that is a big one. Disable audio feedback. If you work with audio in your files, and you can do that in Anime, when you start scrubbing the timeline back and forth, it becomes horribly obnoxious because you're hearing stuff backwards, you're hearing stuff loud, and it just sounds like garbage as you scrub really fast. Disable that here and then re-enable it later if you want to go ahead and do that and play through that. So that's a really important idea right there that will keep you from pulling your hair out later on as well. Some of these other items for nearest neighbor sampling, if you want to have color matches work like that. For the startup file, I've been talking about how when the program launches, the new characters for Anime Studio Pro 10 automatically load. That's because it's hard-coded into the program to launch those character files. If you would like something else, come here to Startup File and just choose Empty Document. Or if you're working on a project that's going to last several hours and you'll be closing and opening the program, Last Saved Document. Or you can target a specific file that you create if you want to. Also, if you are having complex scenes, the icons that show up in your browser, in your file manager or file explorer, sometimes can be kind of hard to see until you expand them. You do have the ability to change the preview size. By default, for both PC and Mac, most of the maximum preview sizes are set to 512 pixels by 512. If you want something larger, you can go ahead and specify that here, or if you want something smaller for some reason, if you're running critically low on resources, that would be one way to do that as well. You can also set up the render cache size, important depending on how much available RAM or disk space you have. And then finally, you can import Poser items directly into Anime Studio Pro, which gives you the ability to take animated 3D content from another Smith Micro program, Poser, and bring it directly into Anime Studio Pro to work with. Man, the things you can do with that are fantastic, but you do need to have a licensed copy of Smith Micro's Poser to make that work. So the program here in the Preferences section asks you to target the program that you want to use. I have a bunch of different versions of Poser, but right now mine has targeted to Poser 9. So that option is here as well. That's how you customize some of the workflow features of Anime Studio Pro 10.